Hi, everyone. Welcome to the C86 podcast, where we speak to operators, founders, and people shaping the hospitality industry about what it really takes to build and run successful businesses. On today's show, we have Jeff Tonidandel and Jamie Brown with us, founders of the Tonidandel-Brown Restaurant Group. They've grown from a single 11-table restaurant into a group of multiple award-winning concepts, including Supperland, which has picked up serious recognition and become a real standout in the market, all built over more than 15 years in the industry. So, Jeff, Jamie, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us. Great.
Now let's get started. What makes this even more interesting is that you've done it together as a husband and wife, which I hold my hat off to you because I've tried it myself, and God, is it a challenge? Yeah, I mean, I think in hospitality that is no small feat, and I'm looking forward to getting inside to know how you've built and scaled the business together because it's I'm sure it's been a great ride. So let's start at the very beginning. 11 tables. What was the original vision?
Well, this guy decided he wanted to get us into hospitality. He took me to dinner one night after we had talked extensively about how fun it would be to open a restaurant. But he took me to dinner one night. It was just as the recession was coming on in 2008, 2009. And then he said, I actually do want to open that restaurant. That is what I want to do. And so we kind of jumped in. It was 9 months later that we were opening our doors at a little place called Crepe Cellar Kitchen and Pub. I mean, that was such a different time, wasn't it?
It was crazy. The Charlotte got rocked by the banking recession, being the second biggest banking town in the States. And it was it was it was a little bit bleak here for a little while, but we decided to jump in, and we opened a little crepe restaurant that was more of a gastro pub than a crepe restaurant, but let people kind of escape and have a wonderful night, have a wonderful date night, for pretty reasonable prices.
And did you ever think at any stage, this is going to turn into something multi-site? This is us for life. We're going to have a big group, a big brand. What was there a vision?
It kind of grew pretty organically as we, 11 tables is not enough to support family, and especially, I think Jamie and I had pretty corporate careers before we jumped into this. So, we were looking at what we used to make and what we were making now, and so growing was kind of the only option. And luckily, the space next door to us became open, and we were able to open a craft beer barn in there. So we just kind of started growing organically. We've been growing 25 to 30% a year for 16 years now. So that's kind of our game plan.
Yeah, it's incredible. And did you do what most of us do? You take almost half a pay cut to go from one industry to another because you go from the top of one to the bottom of the other, and it's starting all over again.
It was many years before we made the same income that we were making previously.
Yeah, and it was also, when he went off to, as we always called it, play restaurant, I went out and got a full-time job because we needed insurance and we needed to be able to pay bills and all that. And it just wasn't steady enough at first. But, as we continued to grow one place after the next, we just kept our eyes open to see, what opportunities are out there. And, we're in a part of the states that's growing very fast. We're in the southeast. And I mean, it's on fire right now. People are moving to the Carolinas, they're moving to Georgia, they're moving to Florida. They want that nice weather and have it year round. And so all these cities down here are growing at a really fast rate. So we're lucky to be a part of that. I don't feel like it really started then, but it's really picked up. I think probably since after COVID,
Mm.
people just like being in the outdoors and everything. So we're really being able to benefit on that inherent growth of this region and city specifically.
Yeah, there's been some benefit from it, hasn't there? If there can be any. So when you were opening the first couple of sites, you mentioned one was next to the other. How did you decide on the concepts? What did you sit down with a piece of blank paper and you kind of threw some ideas around? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Well, it should give a little background on us going into opening a crepe restaurant first, because here we are in North Carolina. Crepes are not really a staple in the Southeast. But Jeff and I had, after having our corporate jobs after business school, we put all of our stuff in storage and we decided to go off and see the world. So we had no children, really no responsibilities, money saved up from our careers. And we put on backpacks and went overseas. So we actually started in London and we crashed on the couch of a friend of ours who was kind enough to let us stay there. But we could only stay for about a week because the pound to the dollar was
It
so
was
full.
like 2 cents to the 1 pound to the dollar when we got there.
Yeah, those were the days for us. You know, you go to America, everything was half
We
price.
got 2 pints of beer, and I think it was, I was looking at it. It was $32 American for 2 pints of beer, and I was like, we have to leave.
So it was cheaper to buy a flight. We got a flight on Ryanair down to Florence, or we flew into Pisa. And so we spent a lot of time in Italy and then throughout Europe, various places. And that was really, going through France inspired us to open a crepe restaurant back here because there was nothing like it at the time. And we loved how over there people just took things at a different pace. Things were slower. We could sit and have lunch for 2 hours and have like a carafe of wine, and it was so inexpensive. And
Yeah.
just sitting there in the delights of life. And I think we wanted to bring some of those flavors, but also that feeling back here. So, when we created that concept, the lights were very low and we had all, candle lights, and there's really charming, simple windows and a very intimate space. And we used carafes. We did carafes of wine at Crepe Cellar. We got from, it was I'll say a local vineyard
Closer to Winston-Salem.
closer to Winston-Salem.
Ah,
So it was all very reasonably priced, and I think it had some of those feelings that we had experienced overseas. That intimacy, that charm that we brought
But
forth in that.
But to answer your question, so that Jamie didn't answer, was we all of our places are in restored buildings. So we have an old general store, we have some old churches that we're in, and each one too now is in a unique neighborhood. We have a lot of special neighborhoods here in Charlotte. So each place has like its own sense of place. So you will find us after we, or when we're looking at a place or after we sign a lease, we will just go and spend a lot of time in that neighborhood, a lot of time in that space. I think there's a picture of my friend took a picture of me napping in a chair at Supperland when it was demoed. Like the whole place is demoed, and I'm just sitting there, just trying to take it all in.
And he was sleeping, not really taking it.
Yeah.
He was getting a good nap.
I took it all in for a little while.
But yeah, I think it's trying to create a story in each one of those places that's built on the place or experiences that we've had, so that each one feels really unique.
yeah, I think it's great you've been able to find properties like that because I think from when I've been to the States, I mean, obviously a lot of it is new, or certainly the last 100 years or so. So I think you're able to create a terrific atmosphere, I'm sure, in these places. And so when you've got your first place open, you've got your second place open, how did you start to kind of delegate between the two of you? Who's going to do what, when, and how?
Well, truthfully, I didn't join our family business for 6 years after we
Yeah.
started. And that's just because it wasn't lucrative enough to do so. So I was working outside of it and working part-time for our businesses. But Jeff's always he runs the culinary across all of our concepts, but we have chefs at each spot. So we try to have systems in place to be able to manage that, so Jeff can manage that. So every Thursday we do tastings, for instance, wherein he'll go and all of us will sit around a table and try different foods that we're working on for quality or seasonal changes or events that are coming up. That's been great, but he's also doing like all the operations. I do more of the PR and marketing side and like any of our media activations and everything. We create the concepts together. So that's the part where we kind of have that tie in together, is in creating the concepts, and then we kind of go back to our silos, and he does culinary and operations, and I
Yeah,
do.
when you say divide up roles and responsibilities, I just do what she tells me to do. That's kind of how they get divided up.
Yes.
Do you know, I can tell these podcasts who speaks first, who calls the shots.
Right.
And yeah, Jamie, it was you. So yeah, I got that.
Yes, but you can imagine too, like, I mean, we have our responsibilities, but there are 330 people on our team now. So for the most part, we try to stay out of service and out of the orchestration of that piece of it, and make sure the team is set up in advance of that so that they can really run the show. And we've been lucky to have just a really great squad of people.
Yeah, and going from kind of 1, 2, 3 sites up to the 6, 7. I mean, it's a big jump. I mean, when I've done it with previously with groups, with branded groups, you kind of go from this small family where people kind of share stores and they go from one to the other restaurant wise. And then all of a sudden you kind of have to gear it up into kind of corporate style, you know, all these policies and procedures and documentation that you have. Because like you say, you've doubled the team number in the team. And then you get all the consequences of that. How did you find that kind of jump from individual family run operation to now we're getting into into the big league?
Um, yeah, so I think that's kind of like our challenge on the forefront right now. So as we open our seventh place, we are also opening a commissary.
Oh yeah.
So that's where we're spending a lot of time is thinking through all that and how that's going to affect the operations and where we're going to go. So I think we've been able to, because our places are so close together and they're all in these neighborhoods, and our latest place we just opened is 4 blocks from our house.
Oh,
We've been
cool.
able to still spend a lot of time at the places, still keep our culture. We've been growing, we've been growing quickly, but not too fast that we can't keep our culture and keep moving people to open new spaces and have that core there. So I think that's really helped. But yes, we are trying to get more professional, trying to yeah, instill more of those things. Whenever something goes wrong, then we have to have a process now, and we have to, try to fix it and have a future rule for what goes on. But we're getting there.
Yeah, cool. And what kind of challenges? I mean, apart from openings themselves and generally financing and everything, have there been some kind of stumbling blocks along the way where you've maybe not necessarily thought, is this the game for us? But it's been a bash to the head, as it were.
Yeah. Well, COVID was obviously a bash to
Yeah,
everybody's head.
yeah.
We did everything we could to fight through that, from laying people off and getting them on unemployment to get through the short term to applying to every type of PPP type of, you know, prospect we could find, and grants and everything.
I,
Um,
I think we're pretty committed to this and pretty in love with what we do and having a great time. So it's almost like any of those things are like, I think we're pretty good at solving problems. So we are just solving problems every single day and trying to get better every day. So I don't think we've had any one thing. I think we have one thing every day.
Yeah.
we have to
yeah,
we have to kind of solve. So it's like, what are you doing today? Or what is your challenge this week? Um,
But that nimbleness, I think, is what's so key for restaurant operators, and especially in this day and time as things are changing so fast. I mean, a lot of what we've been hit by more recently are things like supply issues, where prices are rising and so forth. Um, but I think, we've tried to just take a measured approach and just, okay, do we need to adjust menu prices upward, or do we need to offer a lower priced steak option? Because that steak piece is a big part of some of our menus, and those prices have been super high. So just kind of getting creative and trying to stay ahead of the curve as much as we can, but just trying to stay nimble.
And I think that's one of the greatest things about the hospitality industry. And I say this to people when they're not in the industry, they don't understand it. And I say literally every single day there'll be a challenge thrown at you that either you've done something with it in the past or you hadn't thought about. And it keeps the industry energetic, and that's what I love about it. When no day is the same, but it can be very stressful at the same time. I think especially if you've got a family, it takes time away from that, and you've got to be all hands on deck. So marketing and socials, you mentioned, Jamie, that you kind of manage the PR side of it. How have you been able to kind of keep ahead of that? Because it's something that I know a lot of people are finding a challenge. I mean, including me. It's not easy to stay on top.
Oh, it is not easy. It's the same thing where I just try to look at it as every day we're doing something. And I've joked with Jeff too that sometimes it feels like we're doing a great job at treading in place. And it's like, are we getting anywhere? Because social media is one of those things, like you put something out there and then, well, you better be ready because you got to do another thing tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
So it's this beast that you have to just keep feeding. We've tried to get creative this past year and do some different things that we haven't done yet. And so we're continuing on with social media, and we now have, I'm on our team, and then we have two other people, a director of marketing and then a marketing coordinator as well. And just trying to, make sure social media is, we're maintaining, keep doing these things, keep doing these activations. We've got a few rules that we do where we'll do like quarterly giveaways for each brand. We'll do that kind of thing. We do influencer programs where we have kind of a budgeted number of people that we want to be coming in as influencers into our restaurants. So let's say at our restaurant, Leluya Hall, for instance, we might say every month we want to have 3 to 4 influencers in there. So just having that program, who are those people? Let's get them in, coordinating that out. Um, we've gotten into doing a podcast this past year. Maybe you can talk about that. And then I also launched a book to tell our story in a different format as well. And I love to write, so it was a good fit for me. But I don't know. Do you want to talk about the
I
podcast a little
well,
bit?
I mean, just looking at the way you do your job, I think there's so many unrewarding things where you're trying to. Well, I mean, it's like from the big PR hit standpoint, it's like you're trying to keep a relationship up with Southern Living and the New York Times and all these food writers, and most of the time you don't get written back.
It's
You know,
almost
Like,
a no
it's
Oh,
run.
yeah.
just like you don't even know if they're reading it, if they care, but you just keep plugging away at it, and then 18 months later you end up in an article and on something. So it's great, and I think all of that comes back around, which is lovely, but you don't know which email it was or what actually sparked it. But yeah, I think we're kind of building more of a platform around our marketing too, where Jamie has her book, we have our podcast, we have our PBS TV show, where we're kind of just hitting things from all angles and sharing our story in as many different ways as possible, and with our YouTube channel, trying to create cool videos. So it's almost like we're kind of doing the same thing where we're creating all this content and hopefully people enjoy it, but you don't really know if it brings anybody in or if or how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you could be shouting to one person or shouting to a million. You just have no idea, do you? It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you find getting into the podcast world? Because I've been doing this now for about a year since we started putting the platform together for us. And it's it takes some practice, doesn't it, before you kind of feel a little bit self-confident.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But I think what helps us is we both go on there, so we can always end up synergizing with each other.
Jamie has no problem
I have
talking
lots of
for
words.
for
Um,
for a time. But I mean, so we originally got into it to support our PBS show, Fork and Hammer, and
Yeah, maybe you could tell me about that.
yeah, so we have a national docu-follow called Fork and Hammer. It's on PBS, and which
It's
is
93% of the country. Super great response so far, and
shown hundreds of times per week through on all these different stations throughout the country, which is great. It's an awesome format for us. They're a great partner, and that they don't have a whole lot of restrictions on. We don't have to be a food show, we don't have to have drama, we don't have to just be about construction. So we can have it be about design, we can have it be about problems we have at the restaurant, we can have it be about our wonderful teammates. It's a great medium there that we get to share all the cool stuff that we're doing.
How did you come about writing a book?
well, I love to write. So and I had this idea. It was probably 3 years before the book actually came out. I went to Jeff and was like, I feel like we have some great business lessons that we've learned along the way as at one time young entrepreneurs and jumping into something we knew nothing about and having a dream and just steadily building it over time. And it felt like a lot of the challenges we had been through were relatable across industries, not just the restaurant business. So I started working on it and drafting it and just kind of had a goal of like, hey, let's just see if we can turn this into something. And I work with a publisher called Greenleaf, and they have put it together. And I've loved the whole process. I mean, editing is a little bit of a pain, but
Yeah.
it came out in January of this year, so just a couple months ago, and it's been a lot of fun. I love the platform because it kind of dives deeper into storytelling. I think one of the things I've struggled with from a PR and marketing side is that social media is so fast and blippy. It can be beautiful pictures, but there's not a lot of soul or depth to it. And so I feel like, having a book, having a podcast, the of a television show, things like that kind of get in deeper and at least as a from a human standpoint, makes me feel like we can have a greater impact on anybody who's maybe looking to go into business or who's in hospitality and feeling discouraged or anything like that, you know?
Yeah, I think it's important to make the general public know just what it's like inside the hospitality world because I mean it is life, isn't it? I mean, do you have kids? Do you have a family?
We do. We've got 3 kids, 16, 14, and 11.
Oh my God! So you're kind of at the most challenging area. You're in all aspects, from the business to the personal, and wow.
It's awesome now when somebody wants to do something. We're like, well, hold on, I got to see if I can switch carpool.
Yeah. And do you think they're going to step into it? Have you got them working in the restaurants?
Her daughter worked last summer in the restaurant. She's in the middle of her junior year of high school, which here is just a very intense year for a lot of kids. So, they're taking all the standardized tests and it's a lot of rigor in the classroom, and then they're also getting their driver's license. So we told her to chill out on work for right now, but hopefully this summer again. But as far as like coming into the business after us, I don't think either of us would encourage them to it.
Yeah.
We love it, but it is not for everyone.
14-year-old ready to jump in. He keeps track of every Zoom call. He knows what's going on. He knows all the people. He knows our banker. He's like keeping track of the finances.
Yeah, he's always like any adult conversation. He is keyed in. Like, how can he get involved? So maybe he would, but I hope not for him. I want him to live his own life. Follow his own dreams. This was ours, but he can have his own.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, my parents also had a restaurant when I was kind of growing up, and I remember I must have been about, I don't know, maybe 8 years old. And in the summertime, they'd had me working in the restaurant. And literally, I wouldn't be washing dishes. I remember we used to say this appetizer called prawn cocktail, which, is a fairly standard appetizer. And I'd be on the prawn cocktail station. And so literally every time one came in, I'd be like, yeah, got it, prawn cock. Prawn cock is what I called it, obviously. And, but what I think it does, working in the industry and also working with family, it teaches you a great deal of value. And I think also it teaches you hard work from a young age, because it really is all hands on deck, isn't it? Whether it's cleaning the toilets or whether it's making appetizers in the restaurant. I think it's a great starting point like that. I think one downside is that you see all the challenges and stresses and strains that the industry gives you. But I think I kind of grew up with it, maybe always knowing it was something I was going to do. It was quite strange, but hopefully it's worked out for the best.
And then you throw in for us too that our kids are home during COVID doing online school.
Oh,
right next to them.
wow.
Like trying to run our business
Failing this
on Zoom calls, and so they know exactly what the lowest of the low looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
that hard work ethic. There's probably no better industry than the restaurant business to do it, because kids can do it at such a young age too. We made sure our kids knew that when they turn 13, they can work for a family business. So
yeah.
they know.
And it gives you, I think, as a kid as well, some self-confidence, because you're communicating with different people every day, and you're in different situations that the industry brings. So I think there's a lot of value to it in terms of kind of growing up in that way as well. I certainly got it. But yeah, for my sins, I kind of decided to go into it. And you do look at some of the other industries and you think, Jesus, you have a hell of a lot easier for me and earning double the money as I was doing when you first step into it. But it's kind of in my blood, and I think as an operator, it's like I say when I interview somebody sometimes for a managerial role, you kind of just look in their eyes and you say, have you got common sense? Because common sense is everything in this industry, because like we said, there'll be different situations thrown at you. The customer's always right, so you got to try and work out how to make that happen. And some people can be super intelligent, and you put them in this world where there's something being thrown at them every day, and they've always got to be polite. And then of course you bring team members into it and the challenges with that. It's a real industry, I think. I'm not going to use the word skill, but I think there's a lot about it that brings that out of people.
For sure. I mean, the types of people, we have so many different types of people working on the team, walking through the door, and the challenges every single day are just incredible. And we're lucky the managers that we have right now are great. And that's one of the biggest things I think Jeff tries to instill in managers is the idea of being a problem solver, because you don't know what you're going to face, and that common sense piece is everything.
And so, how have we talk about people, when when I talk to people about the industry and whenever I'm interviewing someone, I kind of, as I said, I look in their eyes for the common sense side of it, but it's how they're going to manage people, because people are your biggest overhead. I mean, they are here now in the UK and perhaps in the US, I'm not sure. They're your biggest overhead. They're your biggest challenge. You are reliant on them more than anything else. It's something to really work hard on. I mean, how do you go about doing that? You mentioned you've got a strong management team that you've kind of personally developed. How do you go about dealing with the big picture of them?
I mean, a lot of it is just finding really passionate people. I think that's the thing we look for more than anything, or people that it's a dynamic industry. Things are going to change, so you have to have people that are open to change, open to learning new things, and really care about hospitality. That we always call it a servant's heart in our restaurant group, but having the servant's heart and really caring about people, and then just nurturing it. And if somebody's interested in something, just kind of giving them everything they need to learn whatever they can.
Yeah, and I thought a lot about this because just recently, especially because we're all seeing a lot of friends or even coworkers are impacted by AI changes, which is coming at just an exponential rate. We don't know how it's going to impact any of us. I think one of the beautiful things about being in this business is you need people to do it. And I think, having that servant's heart, having that warmth of hospitality, that common sense, that kind of stuff, that's not stuff that can be replaced by AI. The experience of being in a restaurant is it requires humans being there and serving you and asking you and making that part of your experience. So, in some ways, I think we're in a really while there's a lot of change with AI for our businesses. There's also some of like the roots of it are remaining the same of that hospitality and love and generosity.
Yeah, I think only people can create atmosphere, because I think you can have a machine that sets the lights to dimmer zone 3 and sets the music to this level, but it's about what people bring to the environment, isn't it? And so how, the market, you probably read about our state over here, we read about yours and obviously the challenges that it's going through at the moment. Over here, the market that's being hit the hardest is the middle market, and perhaps it's the same in the US. And it's kind of the supreme, the Michelins are still kind of doing okay. Those people that have money will always have money, whatever happens. And the QSRs are still doing strong. Is it kind of a similar state out there?
Yeah, I think we've gone through a period where I think the lower end is starting to especially after COVID was getting a nice boost of income. Our wage growth. We have a minimum wage over here, and it is where I think people are making two and a half, three times what minimum wage is now as a starting salary. A lot of places. So I think that's really helped. But yeah, the middle class is definitely getting hit right now. And prices are just going up, and as I said, those other wages have gone up, so that's also affecting our food cost and everything else. So we've been in a pretty good position that we've been able to raise prices and keep keep people in the doors. But there's obviously a limit to that, and going out to eat now is an expensive affair.
Yeah, it's certainly not something that's done as frequently as it used to be. I mean, now it almost seems that the middle market is actually in a place you go for an occasion, versus going out once a week or something like that. It's a very different world. And when I speak to some people that have been in the industry for a long time and they consider themselves experts, which they are, they kind of see this just continuing, and this middle market is going to continue to be hit. And then, of course, you bring the Gen Z's involved, which, the QSR market is very attractive to them. It's very bright, it's colorful, it's social. And we're just kind of wondering how it's going to be. I mean, I guess it's watch this space, and we'll see how it goes. But so in terms of managing costs out there, is labor your biggest hit? Is that your biggest challenge?
Labor and beef probably. I think
Oh
um,
yeah.
we we only serve very high end products. Like we go um, we serve Wagyu beef. We serve prime beef, which is like the top 2% of American beef is prime graded. So we only serve these high end products, and it that kind of stuff. It just that stuff's getting hit pretty hard. So it's labor and food cost. It's kind of a double whammy, and we're trying to do the best we can. But and we're keep raising prices to fight both of those, and also trying to operate as efficiently as possible. Like keep up with our waste logs, make sure we're not wasting anything from a food front, and then just kind of doing our schedules as efficiently as possible.
Mm.
Trying to use AI to lower labor where we can, but I think we have to have so many touch points with customers that that'll help a little bit, but it's not a huge help.
Yeah. And so Supperland's had a lot of attention. What do you think in particular made the concept work so well?
Well, I think there's a couple things. We built it out during COVID, so I think it was a really unique time. It took us forever to build the place, but that also meant during that time we were sharing on social media the build out process, and people kind of stuck with us and went through that process with us. It's also in an old church. Well, it's a mid-century church for America. It's old, so it's a mid-century church. So um, it just I think bringing to life a restaurant in a space like that just came together beautifully, and the way the room is, if you look at it, it is just it's a wide dining hall. Like, if you walk in, it is just these we use some old pews, they're like 120-year-old pews that came from Colorado that we brought over, and you walk in and there's just this long aisle, and there's pews along the sides, and there's chandeliers dropped, and the walls are really rough and rocky, and then you've got straight ahead this open fire kitchen. And so you walk in and you feel the warmth of the fire, and you can see people dining all around you. It just feels very convivial, and people just like love the warmth of it. So I think that's a big part of it. And it's an unusual space. We call it a Southern steakhouse meets church potluck.
Okay.
It's sort of but I think that uniqueness, that quirkiness kind of sets it apart, because you get those southern hearty sides that people might want, especially passers through Charlotte and through the southeast. They want those hearty southern dishes, but then you've got these premium steaks that are coming straight off the fire, cooked super cleanly, and people just can have that super high end meal. And then we'll have like one of our side dishes is an ambrosia salad, and I don't know if do you even know what ambrosia is? I don't know if you do.
No, I don't. No.
Okay. So I feel like this is something you have to know. This was actually around this area. The first time it appeared in a cookbook ever was it Concord or Kannapolis, North Carolina? But it's North Carolina.
Not far away.
And it's a side dish that is marshmallow based.
Oh, okay.
So
Different.
people will literally get a steak, and you'd have, some vegetable sides, potato
It's like
sides, and
whipped cream cheese, marshmallows,
Oh,
roasted
yeah.
nuts,
Yeah.
toasted nuts, brandy
Pineapple.
cherries. We char pineapple on the grill. So we kind of deconstructed it and did every ingredient in it to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a high-end ambrosia. Most people would use like canned fruits and fruits out of it,
Yeah.
marshmallows and like Cool Whip and things like that here in the South. But we just took that humble dish and elevated it. So now you see literally a table of steaks and seafood and all this, and there's a side of ambrosia.
Oh my God. But I get I mean, that's a great thing for social. Have people been coming to your place kind of saying, I've got to have this ambrosia stuff? Has it been something that's on? Yeah.
It was featured in a magazine called Garden and Gun, which is a big, I'll say it's national, but it's a great regional source for the Southeast, especially. Um, People just love it, and because it's unique, it's something different, and it's from here in North Carolina too.
So I'm not going to ask you if you've got a favorite restaurant within your groups, but just tell the listeners that the cuisines and a bit of a brief. How many sites have you got now?
So we have 6 places now. So we have a Italian spot called Everandolo, which is kind of an ode to my family's Italian, dating back to my great grandfather. So kind of an ode to that. We have a fried chicken and cocktail place. It was the first place that let our mixologist really shine, and kind of paired it with fried chicken, which was really cool.
The place is called Haberdish.
Haberdish.
Wow.
And then, we have a craft beer spot called Growler's Poorhouse, where we make everything scratch made and have a pretty good oyster program there. So that's fun. Leluia Hall, which is also in a church, just like Supperland. We have 2 restored churches. Leluia Hall is steak and surf, and then Supperland is a church as well. And that one is the kind of little more southern steakhouse that Jamie was describing, and we're closed the donut shop, and we are opening a sandwich shop, and it's just a walk-up window. So it's really fun in that neighborhood, but just a little walk-up window sandwich shop called Olivelli Deli. But it really has a cool pantry to draw on because it's in the same kitchen as our Italian concept, and then the fried chicken place, Haberdish, is 2 doors down. So we have, when we're going to make chicken salad, we're like, oh well, we have the best fried chicken in the city, 2 doors down. So we kind of are supplying the chicken from there, and then we have all these Italian ingredients sitting around from the Italian restaurant. So it's pretty fun.
That's amazing. And I mean, naming a business is like naming a child. I mean, how did you come up with these names? I mean, it's like, you think this is the biggest thing we're going to do for this business. It's the first and last thing people will see. How did you do it?
Yes. Well, I come up with our names, and they're
A lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
it's a lot of trial and error. I usually just start with a blank sheet of paper, and I just start writing down words that kind of apply to the idea that we're trying to bring to life there. And I just start writing, and then start seeing things that I like together, or the vibe and the feel. And I think one of the biggest things I have to do in naming is to make sure that it feels balanced to him too. So that I think the two of us, male, female, working on something, I think you get two nice perspectives where it's not going to be too masculine or too feminine. And um, we really try to make sure it's ownable. A word like Haberdish is a good example. That's not a word, but it's based off the idea of the little community where it is located was a former textile mill town. And so it's playing off the word haberdashery, but we used the word dish to pull in the food component. So it's haberdish. And for us, like going through the, trademark search and everything to make sure that that name was ownable, we worked with an attorney on that piece for each one of the names. And then also, I mean, we have to look on social too, so looking at Instagram and just general searches to make sure that there aren't things out there that are the same or might reflect poorly upon your business or get confused with your business. So it's a process for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, isn't there? Like you say, I mean, and as you say with socials, then it's going to contradict the kind of brand that you're trying to create, and as you say, do damage. It's a real mission, isn't it? What do you got to do?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of times we'll come up with a name and we'll just sit with it for a while. We'll be like, okay, I think this is the name, but let's not tell anybody so we can see if we like how it feels after some time and after we start putting some pieces together.
And then my mom can't pronounce it, but that's okay.
Well,
Oh, really?
Hallelujah Hall is very tough for people, but
Hallelujah Hall, which is the word hallelujah flip flop.
Oh my God, you put some real thought into these names. That's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, it is a lot of time and effort and thought. But yes, so that's hallelujah flip flopped because it's in an old church, and we really wanted that menu to be really celebratory, and the flavor profiles are so bright and fresh. It's very seafood focused and citrus focused, and so that name Hallelujah Hall just really kind of like enlivened it to make it feel really fun. But it is hard for people to remember and say.
Yeah, but then once you exactly, and then once you come up with this name, you've got to then go on to the branding. You've got to go to interior design. You've got to go into the menu. I mean, what kind of steps do you take? How do you go about doing it from the beginning?
I think that's one of the things that people miss out when they think of marketing. Marketing is not just creating a name and a logo. That it's like it's telling the story with every piece that you pick out. We make all our own tabletops ourselves in our wood shop, so that we have our own tabletops. They're all unique and special to each place. And then you have to pick out the silverware accordingly. You have to design the menu according to the feeling that you want in that place, and pick out the fonts that way, and the aprons and the colors. And there's just so many things that you have to be thoughtful about, that you're telling whatever story you want to tell while you pick your plate out.
What's a little bit unique about our process is I think a lot of people like to outsource that part. They'll be like, I want to open a restaurant. I'm going to work with a branding firm to do that. And they can. Like, that is a great way to go about it. And some people, that's not their strong suit. For us, we both have a little bit of a marketing background. And so I think for us, that's a key piece that we don't want to have other people do. I think it becomes very much ours, and it's precious to us, getting the chance to choose the actual plates that are going to go there and what the menu is going to look like and the colors and the name. and having that story all kind of blend together, and just being very intentional about every decision. That's something that we both are very passionate about in the creation of a restaurant. I think some people just prefer to outsource, but it's just how we like to go about it.
And it's expensive, isn't it, to outsource? I mean, to come up with a brand, interior, and menu design and logo can cost you, 60,000 to 100,000 over here before you've even kind of said yes and signed a lease on a property, and then you've got obviously all the expenses from there. And so, what's been the fastest from the moment you decide let's open another restaurant? What's been the fastest and what's been the slowest?
Fastest was probably
Crazily,
October.
crazily, the fastest one was we had crepes that from the day I told Jamie I wanted to open a restaurant. We didn't even have a space, a lease, a name, know what we were wanting to do. We got to open in less than a year.
Yeah.
He's saying, and so that was by far the fastest. It was also the cheapest, the most bootstrapped.
But is it now the most? Is it now the most highest profit?
So we changed that one. So after COVID, we turned that into our Italian concept. So we kind of just interjected a little more energy in. But so that was about a year, and then Supperland that we kind of did during COVID. That was probably from the first time we looked at the space to the day we got open was 4+ years, 4.5 years maybe.
Wow.
So we didn't have a lease that whole time, but that was a process. And
The building had to be like rezoned. The parking had to be figured out. There were some things that had to go through the city. The landlord had to make some changes. So we weren't doing work for those 4 years. But yeah, truly it was from the day we opened those doors and looked at it for the first time when we welcomed guests in our doors, it was 4 years.
We're like 2-3 years most of the time. But
Yeah.
we're restoring old buildings. A lot of times we have to go through historic, which takes many months here to get approval to do anything to the outside of the building. So what we're doing is a little more complex than rolling up to a space.
Yeah, and frankly, perhaps we'll see how this goes, but it might be that the project that takes the longest is one of the projects we're working on now, which is the building that we moved. Because we started talking about that project in what, 2022? Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
It will probably open next year, in about a year from now. So that's a building that it's a historic landmark here in Mecklenburg County where we live. And it's a former grocery store. It was built in 1903, so please pardon, we don't have the history that you all have, but we try to
1903 is the oldest commercial building in our neighborhood.
Is it really?
Yeah, in Charlotte.
Yes.
This is a newer city too. Like we're not even on water here in Charlotte. Like this was a
Wow.
coast city. So we don't have a river or anything going through. So it's pretty crazy this new kind of city. But anyway, this grocery store was going to be torn down, but we were able to work with the city to get permission to move it to a parking lot that's next to our other restaurant, Leluya Hall. So we've gone through years now of uh, getting permissions, moving the building, now having the building in place on a foundation, doing site work, and we're now working on the renovations to open that up in about a year. So that one may end up being the longest project.
So it was a case of you saw this property and thought, we have to have it. Whatever happens, we've got to have this place. I mean, what was so special about it to then go and say, well, we're going to have to spend some serious cash, I imagine. What was it that kind of?
So there's a 34-story apartment complex going up where this building was sitting, and a friend of mine had asked us. He said, "Look, I had the opportunity to move this building," and he owned the property kind of across the street from ours, and said, "Would you be a tenant in here if I moved the building?" And we went and looked at the building. Well, yeah, this building's really, really cool. We'd love, to look into putting a restaurant in it and all this. And then his project fell through, and he ended up saying, "Well, there's only one other spot that this can go in the city. It's your parking lot." And so here's the engineering that's been done. The building can be moved. They're giving you, the company building the apartment complex was helping out a little bit, giving us the building. But yeah, there were massive expenses, and we probably moved it 100 feet further, and it cost $100,000 more.
Mm.
move the building that extra 100 feet, which is crazy. But we got it moved, and it's in place, and it's a gorgeous building, and we're having a really really good time with this project.
And do you use the same contractors every time, or do you kind of each project has a new one you go and speak to?
We've used the same architect now for the last 4 builds and 3 or 4 builds, and then we've used the same contractor for the last 5 builds, I think.
We do sometimes bid things out, but the trust factor is such a big part. And I think you have such great relationships with them as we do the build out, like that you can call them up and be like, "Hey, this isn't working, or you screwed us over on this, or make this better." Like there's that friendship too that you can, have there that makes it easier on these big builds that cost so much.
Our stuff's so tricky, and you don't really know how it's going to end up. It has to be a little bit more of a partnership than, um, and there has to be a little more trust there. So it's nice that we have a group that we've worked with a lot, and they want our business for the long term. And I think we work things out
Yeah.
fairly.
And you must have a really supportive kind of senior team. I mean, Jamie, you mentioned you've got some marketing assistants in that department, but have you got like an exec chef, or is that something, Jeff, that you take responsibility for?
Each place has its own exec chef and then has 2 sous chefs. But yeah, I kind of run the culinary, and then Chris, who's over at Levuya Hall, he's really the one that I lean on the most. He opened Supperland with us. He opened Haberdish with us as a sous chef. And then he opened Levuya Hall, and then even as we've been doing the sandwich tastings, he comes over and does the tastings with us and stuff like that. So it's nice to have somebody that I've been with a long time, that I've gone out to eat with a lot, and that I eat a lot of food with and trust. And we kind of it's really helpful because we can get to a place like really fast of where we want something to go, because we have all these shared kind of food memories and experiences. So
Yeah.
It's like leading the ship, like from a business perspective. We have two other women too that really help with kind of the business decisions, or we look on a quarterly basis. We get together to look at the numbers and cross compare across restaurants to see, hey, this brand of ours is spending a lot more on linens, or this one is spending a lot more on cleaning chemicals, or whatever it might be, and see if we can find places to save, because as you know, it's literally like you're pitching pennies all the time. So just finding places where we can be more efficient or have learnings across things that, with everything changing so dynamically, like I use DoorDash as an example, which I don't know that DoorDash exists. So
Well,
I don't know if you.
yeah, because they've actually just bought the largest food delivery company in the country, which was Deliveroo, and they've just come over and bought it. So yeah, they are, I mean, a conglomerate, aren't they?
Yes, and so figuring now, okay, we use DoorDash for Haberdish, for instance. Does it make sense to use it for somewhere else? And like, what kind of deals or programming should we put together just based on those learnings? So kind of just, you know, not allowing learnings to just be washed away, but use them to help us build other places too.
And is that a big part, that revenue stream of delivery is a big part of your business?
our places, for the most part, are pretty high end, and so we don't rely on it too much. But the sandwich concept will definitely, I think it'll be a big part of the business there. And then Haberdish does a good bit of sales.
It's between 4 and 8%.
Yeah, it's not like super crazy. There's some other restaurateurs in town that do 25 or 30% at a lot of their places, but I don't think our we do a lot of seafood. I don't think that travels well. We're also known for our wine program. Our sommelier is amazing, and our mixology program. So it's kind of hard to come have a drink with us too if you're getting DoorDash.
Yeah. And do you see yourself breaking out of the state? Are you going to stay within the circumference of where you're at, or do you see yourself going nationwide, or how does it go?
Well, we kind of have a path for yeah yeah, we kind of have like a good path for the next 18 months, 2 years. We're pretty Our pipeline's pretty full right now with doing the commissary project and building Why It's Super Fine, which is next to Lelia Hall. And so I think we're pretty good right there, but we have another concept or two that we'd love to do. We have some opportunities in some other places that we'd like. So we're just kind of working on what we have now. We have a year or 2 years to kind of see what's next for us.
Yeah, and I guess to seeing the market as well. I mean,
To London.
yeah, mate, watch this space because I think with the economy the way it is, and obviously we've all been hit by it in some form. It's just going to be an interesting year, 18 months to ride out, isn't it, and see really what growth potential there is for businesses. So what would you say is probably one of the most overrated trends in hospitality? What do you think people outsiders look at and say this is hospitality, but overrated wise?
Mm. You stumped us. You said this wasn't going to be hard.
I guess I have, and I'm sorry if I did. Okay, what's overrated about hospitality? I think some people think we have a very casual life. It's all very free and easy going, but I think they don't understand the complexities of it, and that it's a lifestyle, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure you guys are in your properties and businesses more than the average person would be at the office.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at hospitality and they think that it's all fun and like we're going to dinner every night with our friends with glasses of wine and like having big celebratory meals and feasts, and it's not like that at all. So I think a lot of people think that it's a very glamorous industry, I think it's far from that. The glamour of it, weirdly, is like this internal joy of getting to do something you love and getting to serve people and create places that bring joy to other people. And I think that gets a little bit mixed up. Sometimes you don't think it's just all that happens
I
to it.
I tell people a lot that I'm doing a tasting, and they're like, "Oh, can I come?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't think you understand." So like when we were opening the Italian restaurant, we were going through every single item on the menu like every other day. So we were getting through like half the menu. So Chris and I would show up at 10 in the morning, and sometimes we'd be leaving at 10 at night, and we'd be eating the whole entire time of this isn't right. Nope, we need to make this again. Nope, this isn't here.
It's
Like
exhausting.
you made this right 2 days ago. Why isn't it not right today? Like what happened to this sauce? Oh, the pasta's, another 10 hours old or whatever it is. So I'm like, yes, you can come, but you show up at 10 o'clock and you leave when I leave.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, then you're welcome to come. You're welcome to come to our tasting, but it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go have whatever pasta I want on the menu. It doesn't quite work like that.
And so if someone comes to you and says, "Listen, we're thinking about getting into the hospitality trade," what kind of I wouldn't say warnings, but what do you tell them about to make them kind of really realize what it's all about?
I think the biggest one we always say is don't build yourself a prison. That's what a restaurant can be.
So, Jeff, Jamie, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast. Really enjoyed hearing about your world and everything that's Gron is creating it.
Thank you.
We enjoyed it. Thanks, Tim.
You're very welcome. And to anyone listening, as always, appreciate you taking the time. We know how busy the industry is, so the fact you're tuning in means a heck of a lot. If you found this useful, feel free to share it with someone else in the industry who might get something from it. And we'll see you on the next show.